Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident panelist, as always, Ryan Schlipp. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_daddy. Well, it's getting dangerous out here. I just saw Adam Schefter just posted this ESPN article ranking wide receiver, tight end, running back groups for 2026. It was actually written by Bill Barnwell. So immediately my mind goes to, dare I? Dare I? Especially since he did such a terrible job with it. Makes me kind of want to delve in. I mean, I shouldn't say he did a terrible job. I don't know. I haven't done it yet. Maybe he's right. Maybe I'll be very disappointed to find out he's right. But at least with the Packers, I can pretty much guarantee he's not. It also annoyed me. See, I shouldn't have even brought it up. It also annoys me. Let me just read a segment of this, and then we're getting off it. Maybe we'll revisit it another day. He says, so apparently he's done this like 4 years in a row, putting the Packers 17th. So it's like a running joke. Yes, 17th. He says, if there's any group of playmakers that settles in right around average on an annual basis, though, it's the young talent in Green Bay. I don't think that's true. It would be hard to explain. I mean, I guess you could just say Jordan is mega elite. I wonder if that's what his position is. It would have to be, because they're one of the best offenses in football consistently by pretty much all metrics. Although he probably doesn't look at most metrics and just looks at what's scoring. Where we rank in scoring? Doesn't matter. But then he says, if everyone was healthy and delivered on their expectations, this could be a top 5 unit overnight. Now, delivering on their expectations aside, are we grading on a curve for everybody that has had injuries? I feel like this is just a Christian Watson commentary, but are you saying that this year, this group is 17th because last year a couple of the guys were, well, pretty much all the guys were hurt? Tucker and Reed and Watson. Is that really what you're saying? You're dropping them to 17th because a large portion of the groups were hurt last year. And that does technically include Josh Jacobs. I think even Golden had a little thing for a little while. Not that anybody would notice because we didn't use him last year. But I found that to be so absurd. Rather than commenting on the talent of the unit, which is the entire point of the article, where does this unit, assuming, like I could understand if they're not going to be back by midseason and you wanted to talk about that, that's fine. I can't fathom that an entire article predicated on how good is this unit is going to say not good because last year they were hurt. Anywho, any frickin' who. I'm sure he did that with all the teams too, right? For example, Roma Dunze, who now has a little mutant foot. That's how I'm going to refer to it from now on. I'm sure he talks about that in the article. Let me see here. Roma Dunze opened up a larger role for Burden down the stretch, and he delivered with a 138-yard game against the 49ers in December. His catch rate was 78.3%. Won't stick, but he's going to be a real threat after the catch. And then he talks about Kyle Monangai. That's weird. Why didn't he talk about the injuries? And Luther Burden was hurt about as much as Josh Jacobs was. So let's see. Just needs more playing time. Burden averaged 2.9 yards per route run, 4th among receivers. Nope, no mention of it. That's weird. They talk about the Vikings kind of taking a step back last year. No, none of that. That's so weird. I'm sure Sam Laporta only playing 9 games was a major factor. Oh, nope, they ranked the Lions number 1. And Jamison Williams, although he did play 17 games last year, that was the first year ever for him. Whether it be injury or legal issues, he can't seem to stay on the field. But still, number 1 in the NFL. So, there you go. Isaac Tesla is listed as a breakout candidate. So we're just projecting him to be a breakout candidate. So that's how we get across that finish line. Was he great? No, but he will be. So the Packers get docked because they haven't reached their full potential, but Tesla gets credit because we can see the future and see that he will reach his full potential despite the fact that he really was not good last year. I know, I saw the really good games too. Week 1 against Green Bay, 96th grade. Week 2 against Chicago, 83. After that, it was 40, 50, 60, 40, 50, 50, 60, 50, 50, 60, 60, 40. Then he had 2 more good games, 70, 70, and then back to a 50. He ended the season with 239 yards and 6 touchdowns. Yes, that's a lot of touchdowns for a guy that was hardly ever targeted because his entire thing was just throwing at him in the end zone, which is probably why he gets so many highlights, which is probably why so many people think he's better than he was, including maybe even fantasy football, although I'm sure there's some disappointment there. His points are going to be massively overrated there. Anywho, I had no intention of talking about this. I just saw it, and I don't know. Maybe we need to do that now. A little bit of news and notesy here. NFL announced the dates of the 2027 NFL Draft, which will be held in Washington, D.C. The league announced in May that Washington, D.C. would be the host site for next year's draft. Now the league has announced that the 3-day event will kick off on Thursday, April 29th, and conclude on Saturday, May 1st, with the National Mall serving as the primary backdrop for the weekend. This will be the first draft the nation's capital has hosted since 1941, when it was hosted at the Willard Hotel. Fun little note, 1941 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers selected Tony Canadeo. That was in the 9th round, but still, that was clearly their best pick. With pick 7 overall that they had that year, they picked George Pascovan. And I couldn't even tell you what some of these positions are here. It is hilarious because it looks like it's just offensive line and running backs. That's just the whole thing. 22 rounds of offensive line and running backs. They did take 3. I mean, George Pascovan was a fullback, but still, you get the idea. And I think Herm Rohrig also might have been some kind of, I don't know what these positions are for 1941. Tony Canadeo, the gray ghost of Gonzaga. Unfortunately, not the inspiration for Everybody's All-American, which would have been pretty funny. Great movie, by the way, known as The Gray Ghost. Gavin Gray. In some pretty fantastic news here, can call it petty if you want, but he's being petty and stupid for even trying, so I don't really care. USPTO, U.S. Patent and Trade Office, denies Caleb Williams' effort to trademark Iceman. Womp womp. For now, Caleb Williams will not officially be known as Iceman. Via Josh Gerbin of GerbinLaw.com, the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office has issued an internal refusal of Williams' application for trademark protection to the term. The USPTO found that the proposed mark is too similar to a trademark owned by, wait for it, Lacrosse for an Iceman line of insulated boots. The June 24th decision concludes that the marks are identical and that some of the products listed in Williams' application may be confused with Lacrosse products. If you're wondering if the Lacrosse Footwear Company has anything to do with Lacrosse, Wisconsin, that would be correct. The company was founded in 1897 in Lacrosse, Wisconsin. It's pretty wild. So yes, a denial for Caleb Williams came because of a Wisconsin company. It's so beautiful. And then finally, this Brandon Ayuk thing just continues to get, I mean, he's, as I said before, he's gone full Antonio Brown. Latest video I've seen, and there's been several that have come out. There's the one where he called the 49ers stupid for paying him. Then he came out and is basically just begging to go to Washington. He's like, oh yeah, I'm going to be for Washington, whatever. He made some kind of comment about you can see my new thing or whatever over at WashingtonCommanders.com or whatever their website is, making some kind of a trolling joke. And then his, as far as I know, most recent Instagram story showed him walk into a closet with a backpack which had money in it, and he just took the money out and threw it on the ground and then walked away. In other words, I guess I'm rich and I keep all my money as cash and then throw it on the ground. Well, some of it is cash. Some of it is, I'm guessing these clothes that look like pajamas, I'm assuming these are supposed to be really high priced. And then he's got the shoes that don't make sense. I'm guessing those cost a lot of money, as well as all the jewelry and the glasses and all that. I'm sure that's where a lot of the money went. The rest of it is sitting on the floor in his closet. Because I'm sure he is a wise investor, would be my assumption. But presumably another attempt at mocking the 49ers for paying him and then him not fulfilling his side of the deal. All right, let's touch on one thing really quickly here before we take a break. I had already kind of touched on this, but I think it was just like a Packernet After Dark. Don't have my notes up, but this is kind of the situation type of deal. So there seems to be some confusion, and I would be in that camp as far as being slightly confused, but some confusion as to how the Micah Parsons timeline works out. Again, not naming names, but I just seen some discussions on social media, and the whole idea is when is the earliest he can, and when is the earliest he's likely to come back, are kind of the questions. But first of all, there's a couple things to kind of clarify, I suppose. Number one, and you can find it in this article here. This is from Fox 47, Steve McGargy. Parsons was asked if that, referring to the 9-month rule, which is where the Packers will not allow you to participate for 9 months, whether that 9-month was a delay before playing or before practicing at all. He says, I don't know. I just know it's a pure 9-month with no football rule. So I think it's generally, having dug into this, the accepted understanding that this includes practice. And that's kind of the issue, because if you could assume that he's able to practice all the way up until that 9 months, then when the 9 months hit, he can play. He's ready to go. Now, the 9 months would put him at September 29th, which would be before actually the Buccaneers game on October 4th. So he could arguably play in that game if that was the case. However, if that's not the case, then September 29th would be 5 days after the Falcons game, and wouldn't leave a ton of lead up to that October 4th game. Now, this massive uproar about him starting mid-season came from his brother, and it hinges on one main assumption. Number one is that there is no ramp-up practice time, meaning he hasn't been practicing, and in his mind, he's going to need quite a bit of practice before he's going to be allowed to play. So the first question is, if you think he can practice earlier, you wouldn't bother putting him on PUP or IR, because you would allow him to practice, et cetera, et cetera. If he's zero contact, zero practice, which I think is the case, then the question becomes, do you keep him off so that he can practice as soon as possible? That means he's going to miss weeks 1, 2, and 3, and then 5 days later, he's going to be able to practice. And even if he misses that Buccaneers game, he'll have a week and a half or so of practice. Actually, more than that, it would appear. Let me get my calendar. Yeah, like 2 weeks and 3 days worth of practice to be ready for that Bears game. Or do you just shut him down because, it's weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, and then he'd be able to come off after that week 4 game against the Buccaneers on October 4th. Then you would have 1 week of preparation prior to the Bears game. But then the quote from his brother is what kind of sent this all into a spiral. He said, when he's starting on the PUP, week 5 was always unrealistic. Need at least 3 weeks of practice from whenever he starts practicing. That's the key, because he's going to literally not play football for 9 months, maybe more. He had to practice and feel comfortable on that knee. When you don't have training camp, you're more susceptible to injury, so you need at least 3 weeks of practice before playing in a game. Now, if that's the case, remember, he's not allowed to do any practice while he's on PUP, and even still, or IR or whatever, even still, they don't want him doing any practice until the 9-month mark. So now we got a couple other questions. Number one, is that even true that they're going to make him do 3 weeks of practice before they allow him to play in a game? That seems shocking to me. Unless it's a part of that 9-month protocol. But I don't know why that would be a part of it if after 9 months they're saying now you can do physical activity, however you have to practice for 3 weeks. All the while we're playing very critical games and just not letting him play so he can practice. It just seems odd. Remember, his brother is not a doctor. He's not the Green Bay Packers. We assume that like these guys are communicating a ton and that he knows everything that Micah knows, which hilariously in that article, Micah didn't know if it was even practice included in the 9-month waiting period. He didn't even know. So Micah doesn't really know what's going on. His brother certainly doesn't know what's going on. I just want to point that out. But I just want to think through a little bit of these timelines. So let's say that he's correct and you have to do 3 weeks. What if we didn't put him on PUP or IR? We didn't designate him in any of these things, and we just allowed him to take a 53-man roster spot so we can get him back as early as possible. Then we're talking he comes back September 29th. He would then return October 20th, meaning he would still miss the Buccaneers, Bears, and Cowboys games. If we did the full 4 weeks on PUP or IR, the 3 weeks would be exactly on October 25th, the Lions game, so it really wouldn't make any difference. So that kind of answers that question. There's no real benefit to doing something crazy and giving him that extra bit of time because it doesn't give us an extra game. So that really just brings us back to, at the earliest, we could easily have him back by the Bears game. The only question is, do the Green Bay Packers have some kind of a policy that we not only keep you out for the 9 months, but we want to give you 3 weeks to play to get comfortable on that knee? And I'm assuming this is not a matter of, because you're not going to be good enough. It's a matter of we're worried that you're going to re-injure something. Now, keep in mind, this is the same team that rushed Jordan Love back onto the field when he still had knee pain and didn't feel comfortable and ended up getting hurt again. So I have a hard time believing they have some kind of a serious policy about make sure you don't have any pain, make sure you're comfortable on your knee, make sure all this stuff. Whether or not it's the right thing, I'm just saying I'm struggling to believe that there's a policy that we're going to allow you to just are the best player on the entire team that we invested the moon and stars for. We want you to just practice and go lottie-dying around for 3 critical weeks of the season just to make sure you feel comfy. I don't know, dude. Now, the common retort to what I'm saying, and I'm not saying anything as far as when he has to come back, but you get this 3-week window to return, and the argument generally is, well, Christian Watson last year was that same situation. They gave him the 9 months, then he had the 3-week ramp up, and they took all 3 weeks for him to ramp up before they brought him back. That's true, which is why I'm not saying it's impossible. But I'm also not going to jump to the conclusion that it's a hard and fast rule that you have to take all 3 weeks. And maybe that's a question that somebody should just ask, Matt LaFleur or whoever. And I will say it's probably most likely based on what we've seen in the past. But I want to make, I don't want to say things that we don't know to be true. And so what I'm saying or seeing is that there's kind of a window of possibility. And within that window is much more likely compared to much less likely, but there's still a window. All right, so for example, Christian Watson came back technically in 19 days, not the full 21 days, which raises the question of why? I thought you had to do a full 3 weeks. If it's not a full 3 weeks, what are the rules? Does it have to be 19 days? Does it have to be 17 days? Does it have to be 14 days? Does it have to be 12 days? What exactly are the rules here? And so I don't want to get swung too hard into, we definitely believe he'll be back for the Bears game. We all thought for sure he'd be back for the Bears game. Now it's like, no, he definitely won't be back for that. Maybe like the Lions or Panthers game or something he'll be back for is like the new thing that we believe. Look, I don't know. What I know is that 9 months, I believe, is on the 29th of September. That's when he can begin practicing. Now, if he's on PUP or IR, he cannot. He has to do the full 4 weeks, and then he can start practicing. So that would be after the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, October 4th. So I guess on the 5th, he can begin practice, if they even have practice the day after a game. Probably not. But now the clock is ticking, and you have a game on the 11th. So that would be 7 days after you have been practicing. Is 7 days of practicing enough? Can you come back after 7 days? Or does it have to be 21 days? Does it have to be 19 days like Christian Watson did? Can it be Can it be 14 days? Can you be back for the Cowboys game, which would be 14 days? And by the way, if we don't do if we don't like place him on IR or PUP or anything, and we allow him to be on the 53, and he does come back the 29th, guess how many days that Dallas Cowboys game is? 19. So from the 29th to the 19th would be 19 days. Okay, exactly how long Christian Watson was out. Just throwing it out there. So, I don't know. Most likely he's going to be put on something. PUP, IR, whatever. Probably PUP, because he'll be on PUP to be in training camp, and I don't really know that there's any mechanism or reason to remove him and then place him on IR. So he'd be on the PUP list. I don't think there's any benefits to IR or whatever. So he's on PUP. He's not allowed to practice. He comes off PUP after 4 weeks. And then it's a matter of how long within this 21-day window are they going to have him practice before he comes back to play. We know it doesn't have to be 21. As much as Christian Watson is the example, I think it kind of cuts the other direction with Christian Watson. Yes, it's only 2 days, but again, that kind of blows up the entire thing, does it not? You're telling me it doesn't have to be exactly 21. That opens up the conversation a little bit. I'm not trying to be pedantic. The point is, I think we're getting too locked into being 100% on something, right? We were 100% he's back for the Bears game, and then that blew up, and now we're 100% he won't be back until the Panthers game or something. I just want to calm down, try to look at the details as best as we possibly can. What exact dates are we talking about here? And then kind of go from there to what's most likely. Yes, he's most likely going to be on PUP. Yes, he's most likely going to be out for a large portion of that practice window. In other words, I don't think he'll be back for that first game. Just 1 week of practice. That would be my guess. Although I don't know. But I think the point with Christian Watson was more or less the game fell on the 20th day. They kind of felt like freaking close enough, dude. And then you had to activate him on that Saturday, which would have been the day before, which was why it was 2 days early. But still, it means there's a little bit of wiggle room there. Even if we're just talking about, is there any wiggle room at the back end of opening up this practice window? I'm still going to ask that question. Either way, I think he'll be back for the Lions game. The other ones might be kind of kicking, screaming, clawing to get there. But I think he'll be back for the Lions game, which means he misses how many games? Vikings, Jets, Falcons, Bucks, Bears, Cowboys. He misses 6 games. That's 1/3 of the season, which is another thing that's important. That does suck. That sucks a lot. But we're talking about half the season, okay? 6 games is not half the season. It's 1/3 of the season. In order for him to miss half the season, he'd have to miss the Lions and the Panthers and the Patriots also. In what world do we think that's going to happen? So, yes, Bears fans and all the panicked Packer fans are going to scream half the season, half the season, half the season. I don't think people realize that this is not a 12-game season anymore. It was a long time ago, I think, when we had that. I don't know. I don't think I was alive at that time. It's not even a 16-game season anymore. We have 18 weeks, right? 17 games, but 18 weeks. We're talking about him missing 6 of 18. That's 1/3. In that third, we have very winnable games. Doesn't mean we're going to win, but if we don't suck, if we aren't the worst team in the history of the known universe, we have a Vikings team that's very beatable. Maybe they're dangerous. I don't know. We should win that game. Jets, we should win that game. Falcons, we should win that. If you want to say Buccaneers, Bears, and Cowboys are tough, that's fine. We should be better than the Buccaneers, though. They have some issues, clearly. I don't think they have the firepower that we have, even without Micah Parsons. Is their quarterback as good as Jordan Love? No. Are their receivers as good? Maybe. Is their tight end as good? No. Is their defense as good? I don't think so. No. Shouldn't be. But okay, that's a tough one. How about the Bears? In Green Bay, by the way. Again, I understand that the Bears have given us a hard time. They play us at the end of the year when we're all banged up, when we don't have players. More than half the games I think we've played, we haven't had Jordan Love. And the Bears are due for a massive regression. They had the 32nd ranked defense last year by some metrics, okay? This is a very winnable game, as long as you just don't suck. Then we have another home game against the Dallas Cowboys. Is that tough? Extremely tough. Dak is a good quarterback. The receiver duo is very, very talented. They don't quite have the defensive firepower since they lost Micah, but, they got Rashawn and Kenny Clark, so you got to watch out. Also a winnable game. We should have a winning record through those 6 weeks. I don't see how 4-2 isn't kind of what we're shooting for, maybe. So you're 4-2 going into a Detroit Lions game with a returning Micah Parsons, who has been healthy and practicing for 3 weeks. That is a tough game, but a very winnable game, especially with Micah Parsons. And remember, they have a quarterback that doesn't super like pressure and an offensive line that's starting to fall apart. Oh, and a new offensive coordinator that wants to start pushing the ball down the field more, which means Jared Goff has to stand in the pocket now and try to hold the ball with pressure from guys like, Micah Parsons, and hopefully an ascending Lucas Van Ness, who's actually able to continue his ascension and not get hurt again this season. Oh, and their defensive backs are a disaster. Then we have a home game against the Panthers that is shockingly winnable, etc., 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 etc. If you win that, you're 5-2, having knocked off probably the best team in the division. Then you go on to play the Panthers, and you should move on to 6-2, and we are off and frickin' running. Even if, let's say we're 3-3, and we go into that Lions game and we lose, and now we're 3-4, that sucks. But guess what? We're 3-4, we have Micah back, and now we play the Panthers at home. We win that, we're 4-4. Okay, now we need to go on to have a winning record throughout. And yes, that probably sucks because we're going to end up having one of those just good enough records to get into the playoffs because we have games against like the Patriots and the Rams and the Bills. But we should absolutely, with Micah and hopefully a healthy team, have more than a good enough record to get to the playoffs and then do our damn. And if we can't, then we don't deserve to be there. Because we couldn't even get a decent enough record without Micah, and then apparently we couldn't even maintain some kind of a winning record with Micah Parsons. We just don't deserve it at that point. So if you believe we're a good team, then you shouldn't worry. If you believe we suck, then who cares if we have Micah or not? What's the freaking difference? Take a break. We'll be right back. All right, we're going to do a quick segment here called Tummy Time. I was advised to please stop doing the soundboard stuff, and I probably will. But, for tummy time, I just got one thing here.
My tummy is speaking to me.
All right, let's listen to a little bit of tummy time. If you don't know what tummy time is, because I kind of just made it up, it's essentially when people with a podcast sit around and talk about their feelings and what their tummy says and how their tummy makes them feel. So there's a conversation about Jordan Love and which quarterbacks are better than Jordan Love. And I don't even really feel like spending a lot of time going into data because it's a waste of everyone's freaking time when they're simply doing tummy time. So here is some tummy time.
Speak when you hear a quarterback better than Jordan Love. Cam Ward. Not Cam Ward. Jacoby Brissett. CJ Stroud. If you spoke for that, I would have been pissed. Tyler Shuck. Okay, too new. I understand. Bryce Young.
Bryce Young is better than Jordan Love.
Let's hear your reasoning.
He brought them to the playoffs. I feel like,
okay, there's one.
I'm not fully on the Jordan Love bandwagon yet. I think Bryce Young has finally turned that page and has turned into an actual NFL quarterback.
I think he's going to, especially with the weapons they brought in for him this past year. I think he's only going to elevate his game more. I'm with you on the not jumping on the Jordan Love train yet. I do want to tell you the other quarterbacks just to see what you think. Bo Nix.
Bo Nix is better than Jordan Love.
See, I'm kind of iffy on that because I don't know if I would put Bo Nix better than Jordan Love yet, although he's in a better system than Jordan.
I don't know. I think. I don't know. Maybe kind of, sort of.
Jordan Love.
I would put Bo Nix slightly above Jordan Love currently, and I think that he will be better than him in the future.
I do agree with that. That's fair. And
then I would put him ahead, and I think later he'll be better. Doesn't that mean he's behind, or is that not how you feel about it?
The last one was Trevor Lawrence.
I think Trevor Lawrence is miles ahead of Jordan Love.
Yeah, I don't think it really is kind of like a debate between the two. Trevor Lawrence has established himself as one of the better quarterbacks in the league. I think he can only take his game further. Jordan Love, I feel like, is at a stalemate.
Agree. If you talk about potential, I would put Cam Ward above Jordan Love.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think my tummy says that I think I feel, and I think I feel. These are, by the way, and these are popular podcasts because the tummy time people, generally people not associating with this type of podcast, like that type of content because you get to, it's so much easier on the brain, you know? You just get to sit back and go, I don't know, man. I watched, and your brain pulls up the 5 clips you have in your mind of Trevor Lawrence. Probably some of them are from a few years ago. And you're like, I don't know, man. Remember that one game where he kind of did this? And maybe it's better for people that have like better memories than me. They can kind of remember all the different plays and all the games that they've seen. I'm terrible at that, which is why I lean more into data and numbers. Because I couldn't give you one memory from last year's Packer game. Couldn't do it. Couldn't tell you who we played, how we did, nothing. I have to look it up every single time. So maybe for people that have memories that work like that, it's much more interesting because you have a lot to go off of. None of it is organized or sorted in any kind of a rational way, but you just have a large memory bank of memories of things that happened and just kind of how you view them, having watched a lot of them and remembering a lot of what you've watched. But this, by the way, should be proof positive for all the Packer fans that are sitting there going, no, I think my tummy time analysis is perfectly adequate. Okay. Then you use your tummy time against this guy's tummy time who says that Cam Ward arguably is ahead of Jordan Love. Can you rationally do that? I don't know how you have a rational debate with tummy time. I mean, it's interesting. I maybe I should seek it out. What does that sound like? I'm guessing it's a whole lot of come on, bro. Come on, bro. You can't be serious. You can't be. Come on, bro. That's I don't know what else you can do. You're refusing to use any information whatsoever, like anything, any relevant, grounded data whatsoever, none. So what do you do other than, come on, bro, I don't think so, man. I feel like, I think, and I feel like, and I think, and I feel like. What else is there? I mean, I guess occasionally they'll use like baseline stats, you know, well, he's missed a bunch of time, the touchdowns, the yards, you know, he's never, and again, the tummy people, I think, are a lot of the memory people. There's a lot of overlap there, a lot of strong memories. So they'll pull up stuff. He hasn't cracked 4,000 yards in 3 years. Like he's had 6 injuries and all these different, you know, like stuff like that. So it's good because there is some data and they're very good at remembering it off the top of their head. I think they're very bad at sorting and organizing data. In other words, filtering. In other words, wisdom. What is good data? What is bad data? What do we use? What do we not use? How do we use it? And again, it's not only are they not very good at it, I think they get angry when you tell them that they have to do it. They don't want to do it. This is what they want to do. They want to just sit back, crack a beer, and be like, bro, like totally, bro, like for reals. Like I think and I feel and I feel and I think, dude. So this is a new thing this year that I've identified, and it honestly makes me feel better because I feel less crazy. You know, it's not so much like why is everybody stupid. It's more of like there's 2 different groups of people, and there's probably several different groups, but this is one way to just put a dividing line in there. And so I can find the analytical data people, and some of the like national people, they'll do this. They'll go out and use the So I can come at you because you know what you're doing and you know how this works and you understand all this and you have no excuse being wrong. This dude with like the baseball cap on and like, you know, just chilling with all his sports memorabilia around him. Like this guy, he knows all the data and all the stats from the 1947 freaking Yankees. You know what I mean? Like he's just got all that weird random crap floating around in his brain. And he just wants to sit around at the bar and talk ball. So I'm just going to make fun of you a little bit, but I'm not going to really bother. This is stupid. This is a waste of my time. It's a waste of everybody's time. It's a waste of their own time, but they seem to enjoy themselves. And for some reason, people like to actually watch them enjoy themselves and get joy out of that. I don't know. But suffice it to say, for our purposes, what they said is dumb. It's not true. Trevor Lawrence did have a good year last year. If you want to argue he's better than Jordan, I don't really give a crap. That's fine. Bryce Young being better than Jordan is stupid. Not believing Jordan really has any kind of a ceiling or something is stupid. Believing that anybody with any real potential is probably going to sail past him because Jordan is kind of stagnated in this mediocre range is stupid. None of that's based on real good information. In fact, all the real good information would say that everything you just said is stupid. But you know what? They're having fun playing with their crayons, so I'm just going to leave them alone and let them do their thing. I'm terrified to go and find out who these people are and find out they have just a massive audience. Oh, here, he posted on Instagram. Man, I hate when people make me go to Instagram. Why are you people on Instagram? Can you get off Instagram? I don't understand why you're on Instagram. It must be I think it's like the generation just, maybe it's my generation, but I feel like it's the one just after. I don't know. I don't know what we're doing on Instagram. Can we get off there? It's like Twitter, but not as good. It's like Twitter, but you can post like pictures of your vacations or something. I don't know what you do there. I have no idea. Oh, I'm gonna be sick. 1.2 million? Oh, and they just cover a bunch of stuff. Well, that makes sense. Okay, so it's not 1.2 million for their football take. Who can build the better team of countries with $20? Okay. 4 phone numbers everyone should know. A lot of FIFA, Messi. Okay, so I was right. They probably talk baseball, soccer, all kinds of stuff. What is more expensive, a trip to Disney World or something? Okay. What country did these foods originate in? Great. These are the people judging Jordan Love, and I'm supposed to take that seriously. I want to find that video. Of course, there's just no way to search in here. Whatever. I'm getting out of here. Oh, my Lord. What am I watching now? This just popped up. Let's just do, we're going to do this. I listened to about 10 seconds. Let's do this live. I'm going to lose my freaking, these people, I need to calm down. People watch this. They have like a studio set up. They have chairs in an area with microphones and background and all this stuff.
Don't speak until you hear a quarterback better than Caleb Williams.
Okay.
Ready, roll? Good work. All right, Trevor Lawrence.
So Lawrence right away was not even close, right? This is a different podcast, but still, according to the last group, clears Jordan by far. So this should be easy. He's way over Caleb, right? Silence.
Fernando Mendoza.
Hard to say. He's a rookie.
Jalen Hurts. That was quick. Okay. All right. Danny Dimes.
Great year last year. They laugh.
Sam Darnold.
Won the Super Bowl. Elite quarterback.
I just won a Super Bowl. Baker Mayfield.
Crazy.
How about the in-division rival, Jared Goff?
Significantly better.
No. How about the arch rival, Jordan Love?
Significantly better.
How about C.J. Stroud, everyone's favorite? Don't speak until you hear a quarterback better than...
They did. I mean, I'm guessing at some point, probably Mahomes or something, they said he was better. This is actually really what people think. They think he's better than Jordan. They think he's better than Goff. This is freaking shocking to me. Let me look something up real quick. Let me just go off a specific theory that I have. Yeah. So this I'm sure is at least part of it. Ranking quarterbacks, and this is one of the metrics I don't use, but I think is probably, if there's one metric that the tummy time people would probably agree with more than anything else, go look at fantasy football rankings. So it's Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Drake May, Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, then Caleb Williams. By the way, this is not 2025. These are the 2026 fantasy football draft rankings. So this is looking forward. Who is expected to be, not necessarily be the best, and this is where understanding what stats are telling you is important. This is the 7th most likely to, that's the wrong way to say it too, expected to get the 7th most points among quarterbacks. Now that is ahead of Justin Herbert. That is ahead of Trevor Lawrence. That is ahead of Dak Prescott. All three of those are better quarterbacks than Caleb Williams. That's ahead of Brock Purdy, who's better than Caleb Williams. It's ahead of Patrick Mahomes, who is probably still better than Caleb Williams. We'll see if he has a bounce back. That's ahead of Bo Nix, who is significantly better than Caleb Williams. That's ahead of Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff, Jordan Love, Baker Mayfield, way ahead of Sam Darnold. But the problem is a lot of things get baked in. First of all, this is not necessary. It's a game. Okay, this is a game. So which means the point systems are, first of all, kind of arbitrary. You know, the amount of, it's basically just yards and touchdowns, and then how many points are assigned becomes arbitrary, but it matters a lot based on how they play and how they get their stats means a lot in this regard. One of the biggest discrepancies here would be rushing. If you're a mobile quarterback, you're going to get a ton of extra fantasy football love as above and beyond. This is why Cam Newton, the biggest argument you'll find, people that think he was an elite quarterback compared to people who think he was a mid quarterback, are guys who use fantasy football rankings and guys who don't. That dude got so many rushing touchdowns. You get within 10 yards, rushing touchdown automatic. And he was very, very good at that. There's no question about it. But as far as his ability to stand in a pocket and throw, he was okay. He had one, I think, very good year, but that's about it. But you look at Josh Allen, great mobile quarterback. Lamar, great mobile quarterback. Jaden Daniels, good mobile quarterback. Jalen Hurts with the whole tush-push thing. Caleb Williams with his escapability and all that stuff. You got a couple pocket guys, but then there's also volume, how many times you're going to be throwing the ball. Your pass-run splits. You've got passing touchdowns as opposed to a team that gets more rushing touchdowns. All these things get factored in. That if you're trying to identify how good a quarterback is, generally you try to strip a lot of these things away. Fantasy football adds them on because they're just adding up points, ways to get you different points. It's a fun game. It's not a good metric for how good a quarterback is. It's not terrible, but it wouldn't probably be in the top 10 list, certainly not in the top 5 list of things that I would use for judging a quarterback. I don't think it clears the top 10. I mean, I just wouldn't use it, period. But I think if ever you're confused as to what is wrong with the world and why do they constantly get all this wrong, go look at fantasy football rankings and maybe you'll get a better understanding, especially with the bros with their podcasts sitting together and all this stuff. These guys, I'm guessing it's a lot of fantasy football stuff. These guys play the living crap out of fantasy football, I guarantee you. And therein, folks, is your issue. Mix in fantasy football with all the highlights of Caleb and how cool he looks. Listen, if you remove yourself, and as weird as it sounds, if you're more of a casual fan, more of an observer of 32 teams as opposed to a diehard of a specific team, you probably love Caleb. Caleb's exciting. It's probably how a lot of us felt about Patrick Mahomes when he first came out, where you're kind of scared of him, but he's AFC, and it's like, I mean, it's cool, and then he starts winning a bunch of Super Bowls, and then you hate him. But until then, he's just this exciting, dude, did you see that throw? And it's crazy, and oh, man, eyes closed, behind the back, all that stuff. That's where people are probably at with Kate, and all the comebacks. It's all just very exciting. He's very, very exciting. And I think for a lot of guys, that they you like action movies. You like stuff that explodes and goes crazy, and it, boring efficiency stuff is boring efficiency stuff. These are Fast and Furious guys. Even though those movies are the worst movies that have ever been made in the history of humanity, they love it because Fast and Furious has tapped into a certain demographic of people that are like, whatever, just make it fly faster, explode bigger, louder, crazier, smashier, whatever, and a certain demographic of people will go. It's kind of like how Steven Seagal still makes movies, which I have always been a huge Steven Seagal fan, but even I'm like, bro, this is getting a little crazy. He makes the same movie basically every year, makes a ton of money off that movie because there's a certain group of Steven Seagal people that are like, dude, Steven Seagal movie. And it's hilarious because we went and looked at it at one point. The titles are all almost exactly the same. The covers of the movies are almost exactly the same. The plots of the movies are almost exactly the same. The only thing different is that Steven Seagal gains about 20 pounds every year. And he is now basically immobile. I don't know how he's... it's a good thing he does Aikido, I guess, where you kind of just stand there and throw people around. I will always love... part of me will always believe that he is truly as elite as he thinks he is, because I just will always have a special place in my heart. But again, it's it's stupid, but this is how people relate to football. This is how some people relate to football. He's exciting, he's flashy, he's fun, so he's better. Is he better than? Of course he's better than Goff. Goff is boring. He doesn't run. He doesn't throw crazy passes. He can barely move. Have you seen him try to run? Ugh. That's not fun. That's not exciting. He's just efficient. Ooh, I'm going to stand here and 2 seconds later I'm going to throw it to Amon-Ra St. Brown and let him run for 7 more yards. I don't care about that. That's stupid. Now, why this doesn't translate for Jordan, I have no idea. Because even though Jordan isn't that crazy, he's more of an Aaron Rodgers type. And I'm not saying he's as good as Aaron Rodgers, but you take away a little bit of the mobility. You take away a little bit of the Pat Mahomes-y super crazy stuff. And it's something that if Mahomes and Caleb weren't in the NFL, he would be like the craziest arm in the NFL. But I don't know what it is. That's the biggest question mark for me. I think we just need more. Maybe this should be my goal. Just go collect all of Jordan's craziest throws and just start making hype videos. And just let the hype happen. You know, Bears fans are going to crap on it, but you just got to fight through it. You know, it's kind of like in the freaking crazy movies where, you know, you're blasting off in the ship and there's like this radiation field, or maybe there's an explosion behind you and it's catching up to you, but you're trying to blast through it. You know, you just blast through it and you're trying to get to the outside. You want this freaking jag turd who's sitting on the chair, who just thinks Jordan Love is just this weird, goofy guy that just like randomly throws the ball around. He's not very good. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's just like this freaking Mr. Bean out there playing football. You know, just throw the football. You know, Mr. Bean. I don't know. They just need to see it. We just got to start a hype. Maybe it's our fault. Maybe it is our fault as Packer fans. We aren't doing a good enough job getting the propaganda out there. Maybe it's primarily my fault and Packers fans' fault because we keep talking EPA and everybody keeps making, even though we're right, maybe we just need to give them what they want. You know what I mean? We need to stop trying to force feed them vegetables and just give them the damn cake. You know? Let's just do it. Let's just go find every crazy throw that Jordan has made and just do what everybody else does and say, there's only 2 quarterbacks in the world that could make this throw. And it's Jordan Love doing like a throw that 90% of quarterbacks could make, but he made, you know? We just got to start putting out the propaganda, bro. Everybody's hating on the Packers, and I think it's our fault. We're not doing a good enough job hyping up this team. By the way, I put out a video on YouTube I'm very proud of. I will be putting that out on Twitter and Facebook very soon. Do me a favor, share it around, hype it up a little bit. Let's just start doing hype stuff. Let's just freaking get hype. It's the off season. It's the dead season. This is where people get stupid. This is where Caleb and Bears fans have been able to convince the world that Caleb is a top 5 quarterback. And then this is how you know we're failing. We're terrible politicians. This is our fault. When the off season happens, during the season, the Packers are a very good team. In the offseason, though, the Bears somehow always convince everybody they're the best. They have the best quarterback, the best coaches, the best everything. They're going to win everything. And the Packers are just this lowly pile of crap. And then the season starts. Thank you. Then the season starts and we get better and better and better. And the Bears get worse and whatever. And then we fail and then everyone laughs at us. And then the offseason happens again. And what happens? The politicking happens. And everybody gets better, and somehow Jordan Love suddenly is no good. Matt LaFleur suddenly is no good. The team suddenly is no good. Packer fans even start to wallow in it and start to fall into this. We got to stop this. We got to stop. We got to reverse the propaganda, dude. We got to start winning off seasons. All right, we're gonna start winning off seasons. I'm starting today. I'm studying like political strategy books, and we're gonna get on this, and we're gonna figure out how to reverse the propaganda. We're not going to suffer the offseason listening to people just crap on us all offseason just so that we can go into the offseason and people go, huh, I guess they are good. And then when we lose in the playoffs, they go, oh, I guess they aren't, and then crap on us for the rest of the offseason. No, I want to get back to the good old days when Aaron Rodgers was running the ship back in like 2014, that range, where everybody knew the Packers were dominant. Every year it was the Packers are going to the Super Bowl, Packers are going to the Super Bowl, Packers are going. We never did, but it was Packers are going to the Super Bowl. We got to get back to that. We got to get back to, dude, Jordan Love, Jordan on one side. You got Watson, Golden, Reed, Tucker. That is the best offense in football. And Micah Parsons on the other side, he is the number one pass rusher in the entire NFL. I don't even know anybody in his league. It's not even close. It's lights out, dude. But no, you know why? Because Packer fans whine so damn much. We're too much like me, you know? We're either whining or we're combating the whiners with analytics. And it's not conducive to a fan. You know why the Bears are always at the top? Because the Bears fans are delusional. We got to be delusional in the offseason. Now, I'll come on the podcast for sure. Why does waveform look jacked up? Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. Popping sounds. I don't see any popping sounds. We're too much like me. We got to just be fake, delusional psychopaths. You know what I mean? And just anytime somebody tries to throw any information at us, we laugh and say they're stupid and we gang up on people, right? Bears fans are like, well, if you look at this data, you use data, you're an idiot. PFF, you're stupid. Bro, you believe stats, bro? You're so stupid. And then you just gas everybody up. Dude, Tucker is the best tight end in football. Just gas it up. And again, we'll come back here. We'll have conversations. We'll talk about real stuff. But out there, we just lie. We lie and we go crazy. We're doing this. We're doing this. Okay? You don't have to come back here and listen. I would encourage you to. I'm actually begging you to. Please don't leave me here. I don't want to be by myself in the offseason. I was begging for calls yesterday. I don't want to grovel. Please don't make me grovel. All right? I really wanted to do Packernet After Dark last night. I had like 5 calls. Can't do it. Don't make me beg, Packer fans. All right? Let's stay locked in. Okay? I see you sneaking away, bro. I see it. I mean, it's partly my fault. I'm saying, dead season, the worst part of the season. There's no real off season except for this little window. And now we're in the friggin' window. This is the worst part of the season. I need you. I need you to stay locked in so I don't lose my mind. I'm already on edge, all right? If you can't tell. I'm tweaking out a little bit over here with the lack of football. If you guys leave me by myself, there's no telling what's going to happen. Things are going to get super weird in here. So stay freaking locked in, and it's time to go to war. Okay, that's it. You know what we're going to do for the next month and a half of no football? We're going to go to war. Okay, great. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.